Welcome to Teslanomics Live. I'm your host, Ben Sullins, and this is the show where we break down the latest Tesla news from the week that has passed. We do it live because, as you know, things move quickly in the world of Tesla and Elon Musk, and today is no exception to that. Now, before we get going, I want to give a big shout out to everyone that supported me throughout this whole journey. We're closing in on 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I'm really excited about that. And as a part of that, I wanted to do a thank you. I wanted to give away something that I just received from a company called Oscar and Hamish. It is a Tesla Model S tailored luggage for the frunk, and you can see some photos of it here. I'll pull those up. Maybe with the zoom, you can check that out. So you can see it kind of fits right inside of the frunk of your Model S. And I believe it'll fit in the Model X as well. Here's another shot of it. It's very, very high quality stuff, very handmade in England, as it labels several places. So if you're interested in doing that or just helping out us reach the goal of 100,000 subscribers, go to teslanomics.co/Oscar Hamish and you will be able to enter. And then from there, one of the key things is that if you share the giveaway, you'll actually earn 3 additional referrals for every, or I'm sorry, 3 additional entries for every person that you refer. So kind of like our own referral program going on here. And I actually have it right here. Here's what it looks like. You guys can see that. Very nice, very high quality stuff. So I wish you all the best. And again, thank you for helping me on this crazy ride that we've been on. Today's show starts off with some pretty cool stuff. And this came out just after my show last week, which again, the show must go on kind of a thing. It was one of those where I wish I could have just delayed last week's show by a day and done this. But alas, here we are a week later, and we have officially the Tesla Q3 vehicle production and delivery numbers. So Q3 just ended, and then we'll have the earnings call early November, probably the first or second business day in November, whatever date that falls on. But we have some solid data here, and so this is pretty spectacular. Let me just read some of the top stats for you guys here. 80,142 vehicles, 50% more than an all-time prior high in Q2 were produced. That's a huge number for them, approaching 84,000, which you'll see when we get into the data a bit more, is kind of the peak, really. If you're thinking, 7,000 a week, 5,000 Model 3 and 2,000 Model S and X, maybe they'll be able to push a little bit beyond that, but they're approaching kind of peak capacity with Fremont right now. So exciting stuff. Amazing job by the team at Tesla. Now, 53,239 of them were Model 3 vehicles, which is almost double of Q2, right in the middle of the goal of 50 to 55,000 is what their guidance was. 26,903 Model S and X vehicles, which are in line with the yearly goals. And the Q3 deliveries, this is a big number that I was excited about, reached 83,500. And so remember, 84,000 is 7,000 a week. So they are right there at pretty much peak capacity and delivery and all that. So they're really operating at a high volume now. Now, I know a lot of you probably have had issues with deliveries and things like that, but on the grand scheme of things, it seems to be going fairly smooth. Obviously, there's edge cases and anecdotes here and there, but these are huge numbers for Tesla. So of those 83,500, 55,840 were Model 3, 14,470 were S, and 13,190 were Model X. Awesome, by the way. I love to see people still buying Model X's because I still think it's the most high-end, kind of technically advanced Tesla that you can buy. So this is pretty amazing. Now, at the end of the quarter, there were still some vehicles in transit, so those will be counted in Q4. All of this is leading to a huge amount of volume for 2018, of which I wanted to dig into right now. Let me just pull that up real quick and go into the right mode. Ding, 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 ding. Here you are. And let me just shrink that up a little bit so you can actually see these numbers here. Actually, why don't I just shrink my camera down for you here a little bit. There we go. Cool. So these numbers are pretty spectacular. And so here's just essentially the sales figures for Tesla over the past... let me go there. There we go. Over the past for 3 years. So from 2015 Q1 to 20 18 Q3, you can see that total sales in 2015 of Q1 were 10,000. Now we're at 83,500. That is a huge jump. In fact, it is a 731% increase in just those 3, almost going on 4 years there. So that's pretty good, right? Now, typically you would look at this and say this is fantastic, but the story actually gets better. So if you forecast out and you assume a max of 7,000 cars per week, giving you 84,000 cars per quarter, here's kind of what that trend looks like. And you can see the blue would be the actual number, and then the red here is that forecast. And I gave them one more quarter of 83.5 to be conservative. And again, you may think that 84,000, maybe they're going to push beyond that. Maybe they will. I hope they will. But I wanted to be a bit more conservative here, so I'm not just kind of fanboying out and kind of overestimating and exaggerating. I wanted to be trying to be more realistic. So here's what that would look like. It literally would be right where they're at and then just lopped off completely to be a flat number there. So if you add that up on a yearly basis, this is what it's looking like right now. So assuming that Tesla produces and delivers around the same amount that they did in Q4 as they did in Q3, they will end up with 237,737 vehicles delivered in 2018, which is more than double 2017. And then if you were to forecast out, assuming nothing from the China factory, no other locations, no other tents or anything come online, and they essentially are capped at that 7,000 a week, you're looking at 335,500 in 2019. Still a steady rise from there. Then, of course, you have, in theory, the China factory coming online the following year, maybe a very small amount, and then in 2021, a huge amount. 2022, pushing them well above 500,000 cars. So this is kind of the trajectory here back from 2015 to now. So pretty good stuff. Then, if you look at the percentage here, though, you're going from 50,000 to 335,000 in 4 years, which is a 562% increase in sales across 4 years. That's greater than a 100% increase on an annual basis, meaning that Tesla is basically still a startup. That is one of those kind of formal definitions of a startup, is that every year they're 100% or more of growth. And so, I mean, this is just tremendous. These numbers don't lie. I'm just shocked that anyone would ever be kind of doubting Tesla at this point. It's one of those things where if you look at the data, it's hard to argue with. Right? Obviously, they have some issues on overall profitability, but the way that it works is you achieve scale, which you can see they're doing, and then you can fine tune and kind of reduce some of those cost centers and actually become profitable. So step one is, break out from that little like fledgling business into a serious contender, which they obviously are now, and then fine tune and find efficiencies, and you can become profitable. Of course, they do on a per unit economic basis. I think their guidance was 15 to 20%, looking at 25% sometime next year. So on a per unit basis, the economics are tremendous. Outside of that, you have to consider things like growth. Obviously, building new factories costs a lot of money. All these kind of things are coming into play, but I don't really have an understanding of how you could spin Q3 at all as anything but fantastic for Tesla. So cheers to you guys, everyone that is doing the hard work there. I really do feel like the workers on the front lines are the ones that need to be given most of the praise here. Of course, you have some management and things that kind of drive it, but honestly, it's the folks busting their butt day in and day out. And every time I go to the factory, I love hanging out and chatting with people there, because it's just spectacular what these folks are doing. And so cheers to you all. Congratulations on a fantastic Q3. Stay tuned, everyone, for the Q3 earnings call, where we potentially could see a profitable quarter overall for the company. This wouldn't be the first time that Tesla's done it, but it would be a very welcomed change compared to the previous quarter. So big stuff coming, and man, just the future is extremely bright for Tesla. Now, the next thing that is funny about this is that we have even more good news for Tesla, and this piece is related to the crash report or vehicle safety report that just came out. So a lot of the stuff we're going to be talking about today is actually just directly from the Tesla website, which is kind of cool. So they just put out this vehicle safety report, and I've got two thoughts on this. All right, so I'll give you the summary here. They say that there was one accident or crash-like event for every 3.34 million miles driven in which drivers had autopilot engaged. For the record, imagine if everyone had autopilot for free, that number would easily be double or triple, if not more. So you could have an even more robust study. Tesla, just note that one, that I'm still pushing for free autopilot for everybody. There was one accident or crash-like event for every 1.9 million 2 miles driven without autopilot. So you can see the difference between autopilot and engaged versus non-autopilot is pretty significant, and I'll talk about maybe some of the nuance in those numbers in a second. Now, according to the NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, there is a car crash every 492,000 miles driven on average. So Teslas without autopilot engaged have a 25%. So Teslas without autopilot engaged have 25% the amount of crashes as NHTSA's average car, or 4 times fewer crashes. Teslas with autopilots engaged have 15% the amount of the crashes of the average, which is more than 6.5 times fewer crashes. Now, Tesla said that they're going to commit to releasing these numbers quarterly, and that's great. I think overall this is a positive sentiment when it comes to transparency, and obviously freeing the data is what we're all about. So, all good stuff. Now, there's two things I want to point out that we shouldn't just take this as we shouldn't go celebrate yet. First off is, and I think someone on Facebook mentioned this when I first saw this post, that when you have autopilot engaged, you're in a scenario which is already less likely to be an accident. So you're on a freeway, first off, so there's not stop signs or more complex things to worry about. And then also you're typically going to be in the middle lane, you're going to be in an open road, those kind of things. So there's going to be some slant towards autopilot already, just by the nature of where autopilot is used. So there's that. But that I would say is maybe minor. The other thing that I have to issue here with this data, and why I'm not just jumping up and down yet, is that in the US we have just north of 200,000 Teslas. If you recall, they just delivered the 200,000th one in early Q3, so just a few months ago. So I don't know, maybe 270,000 Teslas or something like that, compared to the over 220 million drivers. So we're talking about a 1% or maybe even less. A 0.1% or even less, like a 0.09% sample size. And then on top of that, you're going to have a bias here with people that own Teslas are generally going to be older than, say, a 16-year-old. Cheers to you if you're 16 and have a Tesla. But most people are going to be a bit older, which means they're going to be a bit more responsible of a driver. So your sample study is kind of lacking in two ways: in size and bias. So yeah, it's not great, but it is positive, and I love that they're releasing this data. Now, perhaps we can get deeper down in the NHTSA data, and they have stats on like where autopilot would also be driven, and look at crash stats comparatively, or if they were to break it down by age range, and we can compare the average range of Tesla owners and those kind of things. So there's all kinds of stuff going on here. On ways that this is actually going to be a much more difficult thing to kind of nail down. But in any event, it's positive. I love that they're sharing the data, and I want to know what you guys think. Are you mixed on it, kind of like I am, but hopeful, or are you think it's kind of biased and they shouldn't be putting out numbers like that, or are you just like head over heels, like yes, it's awesome? So leave me a comment down below, and I'd love to know what you think. I really would. So talk about that amongst yourselves. Next, the good news just keeps on rolling for Tesla. This is like the best week in Tesla history right here, and there's no crazy Elon tweets yet. So we'll see how that goes. But this is actually very new. Just I think yesterday, Tesla released some data from the NHTSA again, showing that the Model 3 has achieved the lowest probability of injury of any vehicle ever tested by the NHTSA. This means that by owning a Tesla Model 3, you are the least probable to get injured compared to any other car they've ever tested, and then they test a lot of cars, as you could imagine. So this is just even better news. I'll show you the chart here, and then I'll read to you the little quip from the top there. Based on the advanced architecture of the Model S and Model X, which were previously found by the NHTSA to have the lowest and second lowest probabilities of injury of all cars ever tested, we engineered the Model 3 to be the safest car ever built. Now, not only has the Model 3 achieved a perfect 5-star rating in every category and subcategory, but NHTSA's tests also show that it has the lowest probability of injury of all cars the safety agency has ever tested. The NHTSA tested Model 3 long-range rear-wheel drive as part of its new car assessment program, a series of crash tests used to calculate the likelihood of serious bodily injury for front, side, and rollover crashes. The agency's data shows that the vehicle occupants are less likely to get seriously hurt in these types of crashes when in a Model 3 than in any other car. NHTSA's previous tests of the Model S and Model X still hold the record for the second and third lowest probabilities of injury, making Tesla vehicles the best ever rated by the NHTSA. We expect similar results for the Model 3 variants, including our dual motor vehicles, when they are rated. Wow. And you can see some of the results here. I'll put a link to this, or it should already be there. I mean, it's just fantastic to hear, and a lot of this stems from the nature of the chassis, the skateboard design of the Tesla Model 3, or really just of all Teslas. You can see some simulations here of airbags and just kind of how this works. Obviously, there's no engine in the front, so there's a giant crumple zone essentially. I mean, it's just amazing watching some of this stuff, and obviously, if you have a family, or if you just I don't know, don't want to die or get hurt in a crash, you can see that these cars are the best. So fantastic stuff again from Tesla. I mean, this again is shaping up to be the greatest week in Tesla's history in terms of positive PR news, and a lot of it's coming direct from Tesla. So that's fantastic. I mean, it's great to see that they are spending a lot of time focusing on this. Maybe whoever in the PR team was responsible for this stuff was on vacation, and now they're back. I don't know what the case may be but in any event, I'm excited about it. So let me know what you guys think. It's pretty cool to know that not only are you buying a car that's great for the environment, but it literally is the quickest and safest, like arguably from an objective standpoint, the best car you can possibly buy. So cheers to Tesla again for doing such an amazing job from design all the way through execution here. So yeah. Now, speaking of how Teslas get better over time, was I speaking about that? I don't know. A segue for you. Version 9 is rolling out. So, and a lot of you guys have had it. I've seen a bunch of videos popping up on the YouTubes already. So, yeah, I don't have it, so you won't have any of those from me. And I'm going to LA this week, so I won't have time to film it anyways. But here you go. We can have kind of a shot of it. Here's what it looks like when it's when you're getting the update, and then you can see that the dash cam is now there. This is from a Model S, and this is the forward-facing cam. It doesn't have the rear-facing camera yet, but you can kind of see what it looks like. This is really cool. It's going to work for crashes and those kind of things, but it doesn't work when the car is off, which kind of sucks because a lot of times if someone's trying to break into your car or anything like that, that's when it'll happen. And I've actually seen other footage. This is the Model S. I've seen the Model 3 where it actually looks a lot better. Like you can tell the exposures and the stuff isn't the best, but certainly would be helpful in a crash or something. Now, the Model 3 version 9, and I have heard some people getting it, but I've not got it yet. There's some really exciting stuff here, and I'll kind of pause on this little video for a second because you're getting better navigation, which is on the left. Huge. The biggest problem I feel was that the navigation turn-by-turn directions were on the right. Now they're on the left. Don't know if I had any influence on that, but hey, I'll take it. Other than that, they're getting a web browser, and with the web browser, they're getting a calendar. So the web browser is important for one reason, that we have a sweet app called TesLab, which helps you track things like your efficiency, your phantom drain, all kinds of fun stuff. You have competitions and leaderboards for, like, the mayor of the supercharger and those kind of things. Those are all built in. It's all free. You can get that at teslabapp.com. It's TesLab with a Z, because that's how it's supposed to be pronounced, obviously, right? We got that thing. But then so the web app will give you, we haven't launched it yet, but eventually we'll have car controls in your own custom dashboard that'll show you like a Doppler radar and other cool stuff inside of the car. So we kind of have this like feedback loop now where we have like almost an app that is built into your Tesla, and we do that through the web browser. So super stoked on that. Also, you get the calendar, and the calendar, I mean, you may think it's a dumb thing, but it's really nice. I've been driving my Model S for the past few weeks. When I get in my car and I sit there, and it just it pops up exactly what's going on today. Oh, there it is. And if there's an actual address listed on it, like a meeting somewhere, I can tap on it, and boom, it instantly goes to navigation. So amazing. Like, it's a great feature, and I'm stoked that it's there. So anyways, they have some more stuff going on here. The app has been updated, where I believe the idea here is you can share some of your you can share your updates. And so that's one of the things that is pretty nice, is that you can share your ETA and your navigation. Let me see if I can get that video to play for you. There you go. So you can open up the app, you can get directions, those kind of things. And then you can, you can share it to your car. So even cooler. This is the Model S, I believe, or Model SX is what you're seeing there. And then lastly, there are some cool differences on the UI. You can see how you can adjust some of the things here. I have heard that finding the seat warmers and stuff is a bit tricky. One of the challenges I would say with this, though, is that you have an issue where you change it so often that eventually it gets harder, like you kind of lose sight of it, right? You're like, wait, how do I do that? I just learned it the other week and all that. So there you have it. So version 9 is here for a lot of folks. A lot of you probably watching have it. So I hope you're enjoying it. I will be hopefully enjoying it sometime soon. They did say that one of the ways to help this is to bring your car home, connect to your home Wi-Fi, and just wait. And it should be there. I wish there was a trick. I thought about this for a while, where Tesla, this could actually help them, I think, where, because I've had this happen coincidentally, but I think it could be a strategy. So imagine if you call in for a service thing and it's a software related, the first thing that they should do, just by you making a service appointment, is send you the latest update just to make sure. That way, they could even call you back. Hey, we just pushed an update. Did it update? Did it fix your issue? That would probably reduce some of the service load. So Tesla, if you guys are listening, there's an idea for you. I think, it's kind of common, right? Like if you call tech support for your laptop or something, it's going to be a common thing they ask you. Like, all right, what version are you on? Okay, well, before we help you, upgrade to the latest one. And it'd be nice if they made that kind of functional. Now, of course, hackers like me are going to turn to that and say, sweet, anytime I want to upgrade, I'm just going to make a service appointment and then cancel it. But honestly, what's the problem with any of that? You want people on the latest version. So anyways, I think that'd be fun, and I think it's a cool idea for them. So there you have it. Now, we do have some negative stuff to talk about here, and unfortunately that comes to us from Mr. Musk, and this again is related to Twitter, but this may be the last time that we hear about this. So basically, going back to just a few days ago, Elon, after settling with the SEC, came out with a tweet that was kind of a cheap shot at the SEC, calling them the short seller enrichment commission. I mean, it's kind of funny, tongue in cheek or whatever, but the point is that this actually hurt Tesla stock. And so ironically, him doing this helps the short sellers. So he's kind of, doing the SEC's work for him, if that's what anyways, not good. I think it was down about 5% that day on Friday. That's just hurting the company, hurting investors, and people kind of came to it, and I agreed with them. They said, look, man, be pissed, do what you want, but you're helping the shorts and you're hurting retail investors, people that have been long on Tesla for a long time now. So can you just stop? can you just stop with this? Because every time you tweet, it seems to hurt the stock, and it's just not a good idea. So I don't know what Elon's thinking. Obviously, he is who he is, and he can do what he wants. I'm no one to tell him any of that stuff. But just from an outsider's perspective, not a shareholder, for the record, I just think it's a dumb move. So yeah, I wish he would stop that. Now, part of this I think is related to me using an ad blocker. Haha. Something about this report saying that there is a judge, a U.S. district judge, Allison Nathan, is asking questions about the settlement that the SEC and Tesla reached, making sure it is what they call fair and reasonable. Because if you recall, it actually was a pretty good deal for Tesla and Elon. He gets to stay CEO. He has to step down as chairman. They have to pay a fine, which is a large amount to most humans, but to these guys, not a big deal. The question also is why Tesla has to pay it if they weren't even named in the lawsuit. So there's some kind of back and forth going on there. And then apparently part of this, Elon gave the Tesla board an ultimatum, saying that they had to come out and say that they were going to support him, otherwise he was going to quit. And you can kind of see, I think it was wrapped up nicely here. It says, after the SEC accused Elon of securities fraud, Tesla's board defied regulators, issuing a provocative statement saying that it was fully confident in Elon, his integrity, and leadership to the company. So the rumor was that Elon gave them an ultimatum on a phone call and basically said, hey, you need to come out and say this, otherwise I'm actually going to leave, which would clearly hurt Tesla in their future. So I don't know, man. It's hard to say, but in summation, stop it. Just stop with the tweets and the nonsense, man. Q3 was incredible. Arguably the best one in Tesla's history. And it's like every quarter that we get these numbers, it's like the best one in Tesla's history. So why are you helping the short sellers and hurting the people long on your company? I don't know what's going on there. Hopefully, whatever kind of turbulence or stuff that he's been dealing with can subside. Because I think that if we can just kind of steady the ship here for the next year or two, we can be headed towards some really beautiful stuff in the future. So there you have it. Next, I want to talk about some consumer reports data coming out. This is some cool stuff, I think. You have here that they were ranking automated driving systems, so Autopilot as one of them. And Tesla got number 2 on this, next to the Cadillac Super Cruise, mostly for keeping the driver engaged. You can see that here. They got that star, and then here they didn't do that. So if you're unfamiliar, I don't know if you can see this photo. I guess not. On this Super Cruise, there's something that actually, let's see if I can zoom in for you, kind of see it a little bit bigger. There's this green light here on the steering wheel, and there's a sensor which is actually looking for your eyes, and if you're not looking straight ahead for a certain amount of time, it'll start beeping and then eventually disengage or whatever. So they are like being more active about keeping you engaged, and that's why they won here. I also, in Consumer Reports, did an actual video on this as well. You should check it out if you're interested. But the good news about this is I, and hopefully Tesla feels the same way, is like, bring it on. Yes, we want more driver assists to make cars safer. So all of this is great. I mean, second place isn't bad. And without Tesla really doing this, it's arguable that Super Cruise wouldn't exist. Now, one of the main differences is that, in Tesla's favor, if you wanted to argue their side here, was that the Model 3, with, currently a starting price of $49,000, is quite different in terms of the one Cadillac option. So the number of cars with this in Tesla's fleet far outnumber the number of cars on the Cadillac side, and it's more accessible to more people, et cetera, et cetera. But in any event, I mean, who cares? It's all good stuff, I feel like. Then you can kind of see they have this, Pro Pilot Assist, the Pilot Assist from, the different cars and all that. So these are the top 4 here. So good stuff. And then, one of the things that's funny about this is like, well, literally when they ran this, by the time they have it now with the new version 9, which has Mad Max mode and all these other crazy things, it may even be better. In any event, though, I'm excited about this trend of companies pushing to make cars safer. I just think it's great. So yeah, keep it up. Let's keep this rivalry going, and eventually we'll have fully autonomous cars. Hopefully I'm wrong about my prediction of 10 plus years on that. So let me know what you guys think about that too. I mean, have you tried both of them? I know some people that have, and they do say the Cadillac Super Cruise is incredible. So we'll see, but over time these things all get better and all that. So let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. All right, next we just have some fun stuff just to kind of wrap up here. Then we'll jump over to Q&A. We'll first start with the Patreon Q&A, and then we'll go to Crowdcast. So we'll talk about some new Roadster photos coming out. This one is not mine. I believe this is still the prototype. This is the supercharger there in Hawthorne, just outside of the design studio. Maybe they had to move it outside so they could work on the Model Y. Who knows? Some cool little shots coming in here. People not knowing how to use Instagram filters apparently, but yeah, I mean, beautiful car. Cannot wait to get mine. Love the idea, love the fact that it still doesn't have the mirrors, and we'll see exactly kind of how that shakes out in the end, but cool. Next, also we have some fun stuff. This was a guy, you guys may have seen this, where he got pulled over for having a computer mounted in his car, and the cop was just basically confused by it. This is his camera here. He was kind of joking with him at first, like, "Yeah, help me remove it." And then he's like, "Oh, you're serious? Oh, okay. Well, I can't. It's a part of a thing. It's one of those. Yeah." So, anyways, go check this video out. It's just kind of funny to see this stuff. So, I thought that would give you a good laugh if you guys didn't have a chance to check that out. All right, let's switch over now to some Q&A, and I'm going to pull them up on Patreon, and I'm going to refresh the page. So if you guys want, the way this works is you can support me on Patreon, $1 a month or more, and the people that are on there, before the show begins, I post a little thing so you can ask your questions there, and then this is how this works. The other side of it is Crowdcast. In order to get on Crowdcast, you need to join our email list at teslanomics.co/join. And then we'll send you an invite just before the show so you can hop in there. And it's just a nicer way to kind of, you'll see when we get there, but it's kind of a nicer way to comb through with voting on the questions and tagging of the answers, time stamping, and those kind of things. So let me get that set up now. I don't think I actually had time to set this up in advance. So let's see if it just works. Magic. I love you, technology, when you do that. Okay, first question. It was from Alex here, and I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's super long. So it'll be interesting to figure out if Tesla's supercharger network can become a profit center or at least cost neutral. And then he goes into how that may be possible. So I agree. I think that this is why they're charging for the stuff, and I don't know. Maybe down the road Tesla will release some of this in their financials. It's going to be such a mixed bag to try to track it down, but it'd be cool if we had that data. I also think that it could become a profit center if and when they start opening it up to other providers, because that would be a big win. I'm totally looking at you, Lucid, Faraday, if you guys are still around, and other kind of competitors. NIO, maybe if you're coming to the US ever, jump on that. Or actually, though, they're in China, and superchargers are in China as well. So yeah, do your thing. Like why not? Like, you guys are startups, you don't have the infrastructure. This would be a great way to do that. So there you go. Thanks for the question. Jeff asks, hi Ben, love the show. What trip distance covers 80% of trips driven by Tesla owners? In other words, 80% of trips are blank miles or less. I don't have an answer for you off the top of my head, Jeff. I do have the data from Tesla Lab, so I'll see if I can dig into that later. I have a pretty busy week. But another way to word that would be the 80th percentile, because that's essentially what you're describing there. Thanks for the question. Shamburn asks, does Tesla provide any plans to recycle their products after their lifetime? If so, what and how much are they being done, and how much they fully recycle? Yeah, so thanks for the question. I think it was 2012. JB posted a blog article about this and said that 70% of the batteries were going to be, they could recycle. There's a closed loop system where they can like break them down and reuse a lot of it, and they were going to try to increase that. I haven't heard any details on it since then. It's been a while. I mean, basically since the beginning of the company from then, but yeah, I mean, go check it out. There's a great blog article about how they do that and all those kind of things. So thanks for the question. Bridget asks, hi Ben, how possible would it be to standardize superchargers or at least minimize the number of adapters? Think electric car manufacturers could get together, like gas engine cars? Yeah, so It won't happen. Basically, what's going on is Tesla, was the first one to really come out with these high power chargers. They came up with their own proprietary connector, and then everyone else kind of came on board. And so there are standardized connectors for basically everybody but Tesla. Now, as a Tesla owner, you get that adapter free. It's called J1772. Now, there's also CHAdeMO and a handful of others, and you can buy the adapters from Tesla. So I don't think there'll ever be a universal standard, just like technology in general, right? Like how many different kinds of USB are there, right? USB C, USB regular, USB 3, 3.1, then you have mini USB, micro USB, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't think it'll ever happen, just like it doesn't happen in other technology. But good news is there are adapters available. All right, now Crafty asks, have you seen the NHTSA probability of injury data? Yes, I did. Model 3 is the safest. Yeah, that is. In one point that I'll go back to that, if anyone from Tesla is listening about this chart, because I am a data viz wonk. So what you're doing here with these colors is not helping. I think what you wanted to do was to highlight just the Model 3 here. So I would maybe color the S and the X the same, and then just give the Model 3 its own separate color there. This chart is not the best. I would do it differently, and if I had time to find the data before this show, I would have done that myself. So yeah, thanks for the question, Crafty. Okay, now let's head over to El Crowdcast. Let me just close that. Fire it back up. We got a lot of questions going on. Let me make sure. See if this will work magically. Look at that. Technology just works sometimes. Cool. 18 votes on this one. Okay, let's do it. I'm going to hit start answering, which will timestamp this video. So if you guys ever want to go back and watch it and just see the Q&A, you can do so. Again, get on our email list. You'll get the invite, etc. So let me do that while I take my drink of water here. Yeah, so you're asking about Porsche in the 80% charge in 15 minutes. Will that kind of push Tesla? Yeah, so Tesla's actually already doing this, and it should be, I think, released this year. It probably won't happen. We probably won't officially see it until the Model Y unveil, which is on or off for March, which Elon responded to my tweet asking about that. Anyways. Yeah, no, I think so. I think we're headed in that direction. It's good. I love to see these companies pushing each other. Unfortunately, nobody besides Tesla is really making cars that are better than the previous versions. Everyone else seems to be coming out these kind of first gen or substandard versions of electric cars, which really upsets me. But anyways, yeah, I think the charging stuff is cool, and yeah, you will see the Supercharger V3 coming out. They said soon, but my guess is we won't see it until the Model Y unveiling, because it'd be kind of an opportune time. Plus, give them a little bit more time to test it, which may get it closer to that rate there. Thanks for the question, Mike. Jason asks, can you share your experience with routine service for your Teslas? Do you have all of your work performed at the Tesla Service Center, or does the Road Ranger come out for certain services? Also, does the car give you reminders, notifications when things are due for service, rotating tires, battery, coolant, brake fluid, etc.? Okay, a couple questions here. Yeah, I've had really nothing but great service from Tesla, from prior to starting the YouTube channel to after the YouTube channel. None of that has played a factor. It's always been good. I've had a couple things where they came out to my house to fix stuff, and that's super cool. They've been prompt, on time. It's very quick, efficient. I did a video on it years ago, or dang, maybe not years ago, but it seems like years ago. So that's been great. My Model 3, a lot of the issues I've had required to go in to the shop just because they weren't set up for it yet. But yeah, I mean, it's all been good in that front. Regarding servicing things, no, you don't get any notifications or anything like that. Even the annual service, I was told every other year, is really fine. I took my Model S in, I don't know when, earlier this year. Yeah, basically nothing. That they changed out some fluid system stuff. And they're like, yeah, it's good. So yeah, I've had nothing but good stuff. And I do live in a place where we have a smaller service center and one of the highest concentrations of Teslas. So you can imagine in other parts of the country or other parts of the world where you have a much smaller concentration and probably a similar sized service center, your service should even be better. So there you have it. Thanks, Jason. Jens asks, the growth percentage of Tesla production is really impressive. Have you looked into how that compares to the best in the industry? I've not. But for it to be a fair comparison, you would have to go back to when these other companies had started. So it's kind of hard, right? Like if you wanted to see Ford's growth percentage year over year, you'd have to literally go back to when they began as a company and look at it. And I'm sure it was tremendous back then as well. I think that's the thing that is hard to get your head around, is that Tesla is still a very nascent, fledgling type company in the auto industry. The number of cars that they make is incredibly tiny compared to some of these other manufacturers. So obviously they're disrupting it tremendously. But yeah, it'd be hard to actually compare that apples to apples, I think. So I won't do it. But thanks for the question. Jordan asks, Model 3 long range, what's the consensus? Winter tires or stick with the all-weather? Nebraska winters can have been harsh. Also notice Tesla apparel is getting harder to come by. Is it just an unnecessary distraction for the company? I don't know about the apparel stuff. Yeah, so my friends Zach and Jesse did a video on the Model 3 long range. I think they just stuck with I think they had the all-weather tires. You can go check it out, but they were in Boston in the winter, last winter. They had the 12 days of Model 3. Fantastic video series. You definitely should go check out. So, I mean, they would be much, that video would probably be much more informative than anything I can give you. Obviously, living in a place that doesn't snow. So, yeah, go check it out, and I hope that helps. Carlo asks, Ben, can you tell me how many miles you think the Model 3 could produce before its battery life ends? Yeah, so we have data on this, and I've done a couple different studies, and we're looking at 500,000 plus miles before you're seeing a 20% reduction in battery capacity. It's called degradation, and that, if you put a line in the sand, if that's when you'd want a new one. So 500,000 miles, that's what I'll give you. But it does vary, and typically it's much better than that, but trying to be conservative. Thanks for the question, Carlo. Got some good questions today. Sean asks, my first P3D was sent to Hawaii. They rematched. My second had damage on the trunk and passenger fender. I returned it with insurance as a rematch replacement. SD Deliver has been the worst CS experience of my life. They canceled my first order and forced me to reorder, losing my perks and paying more to get. As a shareholder, I worry about Tesla standards have been falling. Have you been hearing of increased bad service? Yeah, what to do in the local delivery won't make it right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's lots of details to unpack. I'm not sure what advice to give you other than keep on them about it. In terms of the service quality and delivery experience, yeah, it's definitely not as great as when I first got my first Tesla. Literally, I would walk in, they had a big bow on it. It was just me. I had all the time in the world, literally an hour and a half going over things, looking at every nook and cranny on it. Yeah, I mean, certainly now the volume that they're producing, it's not nearly what it was. In terms of a shareholder perspective, my suggestion would be to listen to Ray Dalio and never buy stock in an individual company, because it's just way too risky. That's the strategy I follow. I'm not your financial advisor though, so maybe talk to somebody about that. So yeah, I think it'll be one of those things. It's a growing pains right now. It is shocking though. My friend Joe told me, he's like, how something like an invoice can really screw up a company that's so innovative. So I hope you get it fixed, Sean. I hope they do right by you. Phil asks, would the production of the $35,000 Model 3 version be the end of ICE vehicles, and would we as a society hit the magic crossroad? I don't think so. I think it'll be 20 plus years before ICE vehicles are completely gone. Elon actually said that. So, you can jump on me as being a pessimist or whatever, but make sure to send Elon that same comment. And I don't know. I don't think so, because $35,000 is still a lot of money for a lot of people. I think Toyota, Honda, one of these guys are going to come out with like the simplest version of an electric vehicle, but that is still functional and works. And because of that, it's far better than a gas vehicle. So I don't think so. But maybe we'll start to see those trends, and it'll really open up the floodgates once you start seeing the $15,000, $20,000 ones. So. Yeah, thanks for the question, Phil. I think VW is the first ones that have actually stated this, but I believe China is going to be forcing a lot of these companies down this path. So, we can really thank China for moving the needle on this. Vic asks, when my Tesla in the garage connected to my house Wi-Fi, is it normal for the searching for Wi-Fi to continue to be circling as they're looking for another Wi-Fi? I don't know. Oh, maybe that's just looking for the other networks. I'm not sure. I actually just connected mine the other day because, when I first got mine, it didn't have Wi-Fi. And so I just never connected it until they said, hey, go do that for version 9. So yeah, that's where I ended up doing that. Joe asks, does anyone know being on Wi-Fi affects when or how quickly you are updated? Apparently it's good. They said it'll be quicker. Lee asks, when do you think the Model Y, 1, plant and production line will break ground, 2, production line will begin production, 3, meaningful deliveries will begin in the USA? Well, I would argue that all of them are meaningful, Lee. Yeah, I don't know. It's just really kind of thumb to the wind right now. I'm guessing that the new plant would be in 2021, maybe. Production, well, actually, no. Hopefully they can buy an old plant and retrofit. That would be ideal. So in which case, they say production will begin in 2020. I doubt it. I'm guessing 2021. Maybe we'll get deliveries later in 2021, but real kind of volume will happen in 2022. Just kind of, finger to the wind, guess right there for you. Thanks for the question, Lee. Michael asks, in your opinion, are redundancy and mild winter weather good enough reasons to justify dual motor? Moderate hills, all seasons, coming from four-wheel drive cars, strongly considering downgrading my reservation to a non-all-wheel drive. Mild winter weather, good enough. Again, I'm not going to make a recommendation there because I'm out of my depth. I don't know. Go check out Zach and Jesse's video on this, the 12 Days of Model 3. It's a whole series. They're in Boston, pretty harsh winters, and they cover that. For me, yeah, I mean, I would probably do it if I lived in a place that had snow, because from friends I know that had Model S's that were rear-wheel drive, they had issues with it. So, yeah, but go check it out. There's kind of my thoughts on it. Thanks for the question, Michael. Larry asks, just finished a $3,500 mile road trip in my white Model 3 Performance without a hitch, just a dirty car. However, I noticed a weird thing on Autopilot. Twice I went under an overpass that diagonally crossed my path, and my car did a quick little shallow S jog when passing under. There was a diagonal shadow across the highway I was driving on. Would that have caused this? It made me say, what the heck was that? Has anyone else noticed the situation? Yeah, it's interesting. I would more guess the lines on the road and what was going on there. For the record, you're not supposed to use this except on freeways. So there's that. So I don't know if you were or weren't on that, but it's one of those things like, I'm not very trusting of Autopilot on not very well kind of paved and marked roads, and I would not recommend anyone else to be either. So I hope that helps, Larry. Don't know in your specific case. Kevin asks, how does Autopilot decide when to limit the speed at which it can operate? Is it what it sees on GPS? Oh yeah. Yeah, it's supposed to, it uses maps, I believe. People said it uses cameras to look at the speed, but I've had it update at night when you can't even see it, so I don't think that's true. And I believe you can override that. So I think it's a setting on a map. And clearly there are cases where, on roads here where I'm on the freeway, but right next to it is a frontage road that's 25 miles an hour, and it thinks I'm on that road. It says 25, but I'm on the freeway. Yeah, I don't know. It's not perfect. Again, it's still very early days. Mark asks, I know Elon briefly said that they could probably come up with a $25,000 Tesla in 3 years if they really push it. When do you really think a car that's even more affordable could come out of such a starting price? I don't think it will come from Tesla. I don't want them to do that. I want Toyota and Honda and the guys that make these, and Nissan, to make the $25,000 Tesla. I don't want Tesla to do it. When? Hopefully never, is my thought. Thanks for the question, Mark. Miguel asks, do you think the Tesla will discontinue the unlimited freeze charging for all models because they know next year when the $35,000 Model 3 comes out, theirs is really going to be the long lines at most locations to charge their vehicles? I don't think that's true. I think they might not even have enough charging stations. So, Miguel, I don't know if you have a Tesla, but 90+% of the time you charge at home. Even if you just have a regular wall outlet, you're charging at home. So superchargers are not as big of a deal as people think they are. Now, when you have a whole region like in San Diego with only one, and we are right in between, basically on your way to LA from Yuma or Phoenix or anywhere else, that becomes a problem. It's like a choke point, which is why they've announced and they've said they're going to open 10 new stations in the San Diego region soon. So it's one of those things. Like, I don't think it's as big of a deal. Like, you're not going to go there every day to charge. In fact, that would hurt your battery, and you shouldn't do that. So you know, it's not as big a deal as you think, I guess, is my point. Ali asks, ETA for the Model 3 Performance carbon fiber rear spoiler and badging. I think people have this, don't they? I've seen some cars with it. Maybe they were the aftermarket ones. Yeah, other than that, no idea. Manos. Que onda, we? There's a lot of talk regarding potential need for a fresh cash from Tesla. Currently, the stock is going down, and many people say this is the reason. What are your thoughts about that? You know, we'll see when the earnings report comes out. Right now, I think it's all speculative, and you know, don't pay attention to the stock markets. It's a bunch of people trying to make a quick buck and screw some other people out of money. That's my view on the markets. Vic asks, what flash drive do you recommend for a new dash cam? Well, you know, if I had it, I could tell you, but I don't right now. I'll probably just use an SD card with plugged into a little adapter or something. I don't know. It's kind of lame, actually, that you have to do that, but whatever. So, yeah, I can't really recommend one. I'll probably just use one of the ones I already have. Mayank asks, has Tesla improved in its Model 3 quality lately? Do you have any data from users taking deliveries without any issues? Yeah, Tesla said recently that I think they're at 90% of customer satisfaction for quality. And this was coming out 5 days after they actually take delivery of the car. So it wasn't one of those like right when they first get it and they're just so enamored. It was 5 days later. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty high. And I think that was the highest of any of them. That is down from previous in January when I talked to him about it, but still, as far as I know, the quality just keeps getting better and better. And of the people I know personally that have got them, they've reported no issues. So yeah, it's one of those things where, you know, the anecdotes kind of outweigh like almost like comments. Like one negative comment like sticks out far more than like thousands of positive ones. It's one of those things. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about it too much, but definitely, you know, pay attention when you get yours. James asks, Model 3 is becoming a dime a dozen. Yeah, I know. Why do you think folks are using that as a reason for not wanting this model? I don't understand what you mean. Yeah, totally. The Model 3 is the common man's Tesla, and so if you want a different one, get a Model S, get a Model X. That's what I would say. And even where I live, those are super common, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, I don't know. Customizations are cool. Check out Unplugged Performance. Big fans of their work. If you're in San Diego, you want some other work, go to Elite Finish. Big fans of those guys too. So thanks for the question. Milton asks, congrats and thank you for all the great show. Can you please make a comparison of the total emissions of a Tesla versus a plug-in or ICE cars? We can use that. Electric generation is full coal. Yeah, this has been done. It's from the Union of Concerned Scientists. Just go look it up. And they've even broken it down by region based on where the energy in that region comes from. So go check them out. Thanks for the question, Milton. Walt asks, my summon feature was working, now it doesn't. It says my proximity feature on phone was covered. I've had this happen a lot. I've taken my phone out of the case. Who knows? It's beta. I'm still whatever. My driveway has a little tiny dent in it, you know, just a little hill, and it barely works. So yeah, it's still kind of just a party trick to me. Thanks for the question, Walt. Syscom asks, with all the other car companies claiming they have EVs of their own within a couple of years, which car do you think will actually give serious competition to any of the Tesla models? The Chevy Bolt, I think, is the best one. That's not a Tesla on the market. Other than that, maybe the new 60 kilowatt hour Nissan Leaf, probably a good one. And then the VW thing, whatever, I don't know, the Golf, the e-Golf with 200 plus miles of range, I think is a good competitor. I mean, the I-Pace too, but I mean, if you're talking, it depends what you're talking. Like, kind of have to kind of level set now when we're talking about Teslas, because pretty soon the majority of owners will own the 35,000 or the Model 3, and so when you're thinking about competitors to the Model 3, you're thinking Nissan Leafs, not Jaguar I-Pace, Mercedes, whatever. The Jaguar I-Pace I think is legit. The rest of the German cars, with the exception of the Volkswagen one I mentioned, are just garbage. They shouldn't even make them. They should just stop what they're doing, go back to the drawing board, and think about how to actually make a product worth a damn. So other than that, I don't know of anyone. Lucid, I'm super long on them. I'm really stoked. And Neo with the ES8. I just wish it was in America. So yeah, I mean, there's some cool ones coming out. Definitely none of the Germans though, except for the Volkswagen one. So, thanks for the question. Is this registration going to cost me? I don't know what you mean, Jim, but I don't charge for any of these things. So, Rune asks, do you think that Tesla will offer a tow hitch option on the Model 3 at any point? I happen to have a video for you. Go look for my friend Zach Jerry Rig Everything and check it out. We did a video. I have a tow hitch on my Model 3, so there you go. The problem with it is that there's no brake light hookup, so if you have to have a trailer with brake lights, you can't pull that yet. Someone that's probably smarter than I, more of an electrical engineer, could figure that out, but there is a tow hitch. It's from Torque Lift Central. Ken asks, any idea when they will start the Model 3 delivery in Europe? There's also a lot of reservation holders in Europe that are patiently waiting. I'm guessing early to mid 2019, so not too far down the road. Blunt Politics, do you believe that Tesla will be harmed by the SEC takeover of the board? If so, why? Don't know about the takeover. If you mean the appointment of the two independent directors, Tesla will be harmed. I don't think so. No, I think it'll be fine. As long as Elon is still there. So, James Lee asks, is the Cadillac's Autopilot updatable like our Teslas? I don't believe so. Which is a key advantage to basically all Teslas, which is also why it's one of those things where you're like, okay, cool. So someone, some feature that some other car beat them now, yeah, just wait a couple weeks and we'll have an update to it and we'll fix it. So, all right. Thank you guys for the time today. I do appreciate all of you. I am going to be in LA later this week at Vid Summit. So if you guys are there and you're a video creator and you're going to be there, I'll be talking about the Tesla referral program on Thursday. So come say hi. Other than that, I will see you guys back here next week. And don't forget, when you free the data, your mind will follow. I'll see you guys back here next time.